Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Today our topic is Big Prophecy Fulfilling. First of all, we're going to talk about how we're giving an amazing deal, free to watch, 8 videos on Islam. Let me back up and give you a little history on the Prophecy Club. So, God called me to start the Prophecy Club in June of 1993. We invited guest speakers. Matter of fact, we invited 160 guest speakers, making 330 DVDs. We used to ask a donation of $30 per DVD, but they're all now available for $200 a year or $20 a month. You can unsubscribe anytime you want to. There's no contracts on them. So let me explain the 8 DVD offer we're giving right now. You can go watch all of these free at WatchProphecyClub.com right now today. The first one is called Chrislam, The Nation Killer by Leslie Johnson. It compares Christianity and Islam, showing that Allah is not Jehovah God. Chrislam says that Allah, the Islamic God, and Jehovah are actually the same God, and puts Qurans and Bibles in the same pews. Wrong. The next DVD is called 5 Deceptions of Islam by Avi Lipkin. This presentation examines 5 foundational claims of Islam through the lens of biblical Christianity, comparing the teachings of the Quran and the Bible on God, Jesus Christ, peace, love, and divine revelation. Then we have Jesus, Jews, and Jihad by Marvin Yakos. Now look at this. This guy was a former jihadist himself. He spent 15 years studying the Vedic scriptures and 20 years studying Islam, Quran, and Hadith. After his miraculous salvation, God showed him in a vision that Islam would invade the world with one final jihad. We know it as Armageddon. He says the goal of Islam is to, listen carefully, kill or enslave the world. Islam kills or enslaves captured men and makes women sex slaves. You'll learn the frightening truth about Islam and the number one enemy of Christianity. So you can watch 8 of these DVDs free to watch through the month of August. Part of it is also Atomic Iran. Now, this Dr. Jerome Corsi, a Harvard graduate, author of 15 books, and an expert on political violence, and he has spoken before the Israeli Knesset. He used to have a top secret clearance, and he says that Iran will use atomic weapons, just like Trump says. And Iran has proclaimed that a mullah, an Islamic messiah, will one day return to destroy the infidels, that's anybody that's not Muslim, and usher in a new Islamic global government, once again heading to Armageddon. But also offering Islam and Prophecy. I made this one. I examined the relationship between Islam and Bible prophecy, exploring prophetic interpretations, end-time scenarios, and questions about the future role of Islam in world events from a biblical perspective. Then Bill Federer came to make Islamic Conquest, Past or Present. He explores a historical rise and expansion of Islam, examining key military campaigns, what they've done in the past, crusades, influential historical figures, and the lasting impact of Islamic civilization on world history. It also considers how these events continue to shape our culture, religion, and global affairs today. Finally, Islamic Jesus versus Biblical Jesus. James Sundquist gives 22 scriptural reasons why the Islamic and the biblical Jesus are not the same. He tells what Islamic Jesus says he will do when he returns to the earth. Is Islam a religion of peace? Is the biblical Jesus the same as the Muslim scriptures describe? Is Islamic Jesus the Prince of Peace or another masquerade of the Prince of Darkness? Israel, Islam, and Biochemical Nuclear Terrorism by Bill Sneblin. This guy's really good. He gives you what prophecy says will come, as well as what is likely to come in the next war or the confirmation of the covenant and starts the tribulation. Bill explains how the Muslim religion creates terrorists who will kill thousands of Americans and exposes who Allah really is. You can watch 8 of them right now, free to watch through the month of August 2026. So here's what you look like. You go to WatchProphecyClub.com. This is the way it looks. You click in the top right corner, sign in. And you can go in and sign up, quit anytime you want to. But through the month of August, you can watch all 9 of these free. Remember this devaluing of the dollar? You recall that prophecy? Okay, it came from Shane Warren. You can pause and read the whole thing if you want to. But I want you to look at it's part of the prophecy. Devaluing of the dollar. That seems to be the big thing that starts all of the bad things happening. Devaluing of the dollar. So you remember these confirming prophecies? I'm not going to read all of them because we actually have 12 of them. Maurice Sklar said dollar will lose another 30%. Brandon Biggs said banks close, no access to finances. He saw a flag burning turned into a digital code, people riding after the dollar crashes. Dana Coverstone saw all coins gone, money sucked out of the banks like vacuum cleaner, lots more. Again, there's 13 of them say the dollar is going to eventually fall. Today, bloodbath in the Asian markets today. It looks like the bond market just broke. Now, I have read several other articles that say that when the bond market breaks, it causes the interest rates on those bonds to rise. When they hit 5%, everything breaks. Well, that could be the death of the dollar. What you're looking at might very well be either the thing that starts the crash of the dollar or the thing that starts the crash of the dollar. That's a very interesting article. I might read most of it. He says an absolute bloodbath in markets took over today. Some 103, 6, 9, 12 zeros has been wiped out from the Asian stock markets in just 30 minutes at open. Korea down 5.5%. China down 3.5%. Japan 3.1%. Taiwan 2%. China and Japan are now dumping US Treasuries to cover the damage. What does that mean? It means that basically a bunch of nations are selling their dollars. That's what Shane Warren said. That's what he warned us about. When they start dumping dollars, now he said it would be for selling oil and gold, and with the things going on in Iran right now, that may very well be a part of it. But this could be a part of it too, so let's look. Sway says the bond market just broke. Today, the US Treasury admitted that long end of the bond market is broken. Nobody wanted the 10-year, 20-year, or 30-year debt. The 30-year yield just slammed into its highest level since 2007. Now, let me explain. So, the way America gets money to throw away is we sell bonds, 10-year, 20-year, 30-year bonds. And in order to get people to buy those bonds, which we tell people that's the very best investment you can have, we pay them interest. It used to be 2%, then it went to 3%. Now, he's about to say it's up to 4.5%, or is it 3/4? 4 3/4. But when it hits 5, all the experts say that's the breaking point. At that point, the dollar breaks. In other words, we're paying so much interest on our debt that we can no longer function. The dollar is dead. That's the point. So it goes on to say, so what do? What happened today? They announced that at least a doubling their liquidity buybacks of those extra long-term bonds from a $2 billion max per operation to $4 billion plus starting September the 9th. Now, why September the 9th? Well, there's a lead in when they decide to make the decision when the money moves. They're literally borrowing short-term money to buy back their own long-term debt. Okay, it's kind of like when we start using credit cards to pay off things that we should just be paying out of pocket. In other words, it's classic desperation move. So the bond prices spiked. Yields crashed 9 to 10 BPS and futures ripped higher than the second the news dropped. Meanwhile, Japan, still the number one foreign holder of U.S. Treasuries, is dumping them to fund currency interventions. They're about to apologize. They don't mean to do that. That's part of the article. But they have no choice. In other words, Japan is dumping our dollars. That means the value of the dollar is about to crash or go down. That's exactly what Shane Warren was told way back in 2010. Here it is some 16 years later, and we're looking at it. The BOJ and finance minister threatened of bold actions to save the yen. BOJ's Yuto, here it is important, apologized for the measures being prepared. In other words, Japan doesn't want to hurt us, but Japan got to take care of Japan first. The June data just showed that Japan cut holdings by another $26.4 billion Okay, in other words, they're dumping. Japan is in trouble. In order to save the yen, they've got to hurt the dollar. That's what they're basically saying. When the biggest foreign buyer is selling treasuries to defend its own currency, that's what's going on, and the U.S. government is forced to step in and buy its own unwanted long bonds, this isn't market support. This is the system flashing red. Now, you remember last week, I told you that I actually emailed Hal Turner and that I was skeptical about this article he put out where Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, in a cabinet meeting, had one of his notes in big letters that said, buy Japanese yen. Whether that was really true. He brought back a photo of it. And of course, you don't write a note to yourself on just one note on a paper. You don't write letters an inch tall if it's just you. He was getting people to see that. He was basically, in my opinion, trying to get people to invest in the Japanese yen so that it wouldn't fall and they wouldn't be buying, so that what they're talking about wouldn't happen. But it's happening. Let's go on. The famous City of London banker Lord Belgrave, I want you to look at that word B-E-L. I think that's short for B-A-A-L, ball, as in the molten calf. Lord Belgrave had already warned about the planned debt, oil plus currency financial crisis at the start of the year. It is now being executed. In other words, history may very well show us that what we're looking at is the start of the fall of the dollar. And from that, apparently, a whole lot of other things start happening too. Now, I want to make certain Hal Turner's right. So I had one of my researchers do some research. He sent me a lot of articles, a lot of people talking about this. But this is just a confirming article. I don't know that I necessarily need to read all of it, but global bond markets are getting hammered. He says the same thing. Point made. Move on. So, is the Iran conflict causing the fall of the dollar? I don't think that Iranians are thinking about that, but what they're doing may, in fact, exactly be doing that. Newsmax says U.S. forces hold open Hormuz as Iran targets tankers. So as long as Iran is shooting at the tankers and hitting them, there's supposed to be 100 ships a day going through the Hormuz, and that's down to 12 or 15 a day. That's not being open, in my opinion. So will Iran begin attacking America from the inside, as I've said over the last two programs? The answer is they already have. Oh yeah? Here it is. U.S. Warren Simmons devices can be hacked amid fears that Iran is breaching water plants. In other words, they've already breached two and shut off the water to two of the cities out there. Unidentified hackers are trying to breach devices made by Simmons that are used to monitor and operate water facilities and other critical... Okay, so if they're doing it by computer, are they going to actually be sending poison into them? Prophecies say yes. You can boil the water, but it doesn't fix it. In other words, it's a poison. Just because you boil it doesn't take the poison away. Russia reportedly resupplying Iran as U.S.-Russian tensions persist. Well, wait a minute. For years now, since 22, America's been sending, $350 billion of military supplies into Ukraine to fight Russia. So now Russia is doing the favor back to us. So Russia's turning around and sending money and bullets and missiles and help, whatever they need, to Iran to fight America. So it's turnabout is fair play. So we support Ukraine to fight Russia. So Russia is supporting Iran to fight America. Fits, doesn't it? So this NBC News reported that the shipments are traveling across the Caspian Sea to Iran's Ahmedabad port. Well, guess what? That's probably, if Trump is smart, and I think that they are, that big bridge that they just took out in Iran yesterday was probably stopping some of the supplies coming in from Russia through the Caspian Sea to bolster Iran's military. More than 24 Russian vessels have reportedly transported the materials, skipping the drone components, small arms ammunition, and TNT used in Iranian ballistic missile warheads and drones. In other words, the things that Iran needs to blow up American stuff. But what the prophecies say is they're going to start doing it inside our borders. So is Iran about to give America a bloody nose by hitting our electrical grid, our dams, bridges, poison water, oil refineries? Look, all they have to do is bring some of these drones up to the Mexican border, excuse me, and send them quickly in to hit America all over. Oil refineries, all of those Texas oil refineries, big problems. Digital dollar draws near. XRP News. Ripple partners with Korea's bank to replace SWIFT with real-time payments. Okay, so now, is this because they're trying to bring in a digital system, or are they trying to bring in a digital system while they're also trying to crash the dollar? In my opinion, it's B. I think that both sides, both the good guys and the bad guys, are trying to crash the dollar. And both the good guys and the bad guys are trying to bring in a digital currency system. And I think that it will start off in the hands of the good guys. But within 6 months or so, it will start turning to the bad guys. The bad guys, when Adam and Eve ate of the fruit, they lost ownership of the earth. So the devil has ownership of the earth. Like was told to Benjamin Fulford, we've been ruling this planet for thousands of years, we'll destroy it rather than give it up. In other words, the devil's going to get that digital currency system one way or the other. It doesn't make any difference to him. He's going to get it. But I believe it'll start off in the hands of the good guys, but the devil takes it over. So the SWIFT system, is the digital system good? If it goes around the bad guys, it's good. But the problem is the bad guys eventually get it back, in my opinion, and according to prophecy. Now this one is interesting. The most important news says 12 gigantic red flag warning signs for the economy. Now I've just pulled just the 12 out of the article. The crack spread for diesel fuel in the United States just surpassed the $100 mark for the first time, meaning there's going to be a shortage of diesel in America. Well, wait a minute. We get it out of the ground here, we process it here. Yeah, but the whole world is wanting it and needing it. And so Trump is selling a lot of it. So a lot of that is going to other nations, my opinion, because we have to supply them in order to get this Iran thing to work. Two Chinese shipping giants have decided to stop sending their oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. Well, it's not just two. There's a whole bunch of them. Normally it's 100 tankers go through a day. Now it's down to 12 to 15, as we mentioned. 3, another commercial vessel was just attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. Well, you may be saying, well, why don't they just take their chance? Well, why doesn't the American military, why aren't they able to stop those drones? That's a very good question. The answer is like this. There's a cliff face, and these guys in Iran hide up in the cracks of that cliff face, and they can fire those drones down and within 60 to 90 seconds hit their target, which can be one of these big oil tankers. And the problem is, even if we have a warship setting out there in 60 to 90 seconds, we do not have the technology to track, target, and take it out before it hits a tanker. We can't stop those little drones. They're actually very effective. And so consequently, the news is not going to tell you this, but the truth is, we can't stop them. Iran can take out the tankers they want, and we can't stop it. That's what everybody's afraid to say. If we could stop it, then no problem. Number 4, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is at its lowest level since 1982, thanks to Biden. Okay, remember Biden selling it all off? Well, that's going to make the price of diesel and the price of gasoline continue to go up. I think you can continue to see it go up. The yield on a 30-year Treasury bond just hit the highest level in 19 years, and I think I saw it someplace. I think it was 4.75%. As I've said, the experts say we hit 5% and the dollar crashes. I mean, our American economy will just crash. It will not work at 5%. That's what the experts say. The yield on a 10-year Japanese bond just hit the highest level in nearly 30 years. See, these guys are seeing the same thing. A lot of the experts seeing the same thing. they're saying that this Iran war is putting pressure through the oil and a lot of other things, and it is causing problems for America. Then let's talk about college graduates. It says that many of them are having to move back in with their parents because they can't find a job. Approximately half of all U.S. college graduates end up moving back in with their parents. Pending home sales unexpectedly fell. If the interest rates get too high, people can't buy the homes. The price of ground beef and other things keeps going up. Nearly 60% of the Democrats now have a positive view of socialism, which is really the first step to communism. There is no socialism. It's just a first step to communism. Then Warren Buffett appears to be convinced that this current stock market bubble is going to end very bad. Speaking of, I still do not have a new sponsor, so basically we've lost all three of our sponsors. Yes, the EMP Shield is still out there, but we don't get no sales amount to Hill of Beans. So Prophecy Club is in trouble. We're hurting. It's hopefully at the end of the summer, hopefully it'll turn around here in the next month or so. But if God's blessed you and you can help us, hopefully help us on a ongoing monthly basis, now would be a really, really good time. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Lord, bless those people that hold up Prophecy Club. You know, one of these days, Prophecy Club is being given lots and lots of souls. You can share in those souls by sharing in the help and the ongoing and the holding up of Prophecy Club. So if God's blessed you and you can help, now would be a really good time. Thank you. So this is a book called To Miss the Mark, and this one is a very simple book. Takes you probably 2 hours to read through it. It is designed to be handed to someone that is not necessarily a Christian, maybe even a teenager, because if they'll read a few pages of it, they will probably finish the book. And if they finish the book, they will understand the mark of the beast. It shows them what the mark of the beast looks like, and they will never take the mark of the beast, and they'll probably get saved. 1 for $20, don't do that. We offer them a shrink wrap set of 10 for $35. Then my newest book, Pentecost Rapture of the Bride. If you want to understand the timing of the rapture, and I'll just tell you, it's what you call pre-wrath. It's about 4 months before Armageddon. Then this is the book. And it lays it out once again. This is simple. This is about a 3-hour read. Not complicated at all. But once you read it, you'll slap your forehead and say, of course. I don't know why I didn't see this before. It has to be this way. This is the truth. No matter whether you or someone else is pre-trib, post-trib, whatever they are, when they read this book, they will understand the truth about the rapture. Essentially, it explains that the Feast of Pentecost is the marriage feast. And so the first marriage, Moses, the children of Israel, married God at Mount Sinai. The second marriage in the upper room, when the Holy Spirit came in and tongues of fire set upon people. The final marriage is when we get taken to the marriage supper of the Lamb on the last rapture. You'll see that. It's easy. 1 for $20. Don't do that. Shrink wrap set of 10 for $35. Then what I call the granddaddy book, this is the one where I was shown the secret door that puts the prophecies of Revelation into the correct chronological order based upon the feasts. When you see this, you can say, of course, God showed him how it really works. 1 for $20, shrink wrap set of 5 for $35. But you can right now get 5 of the secret door and 10 of the Pentecost, 15 books for a gift of $50 at prophecyclub.com. Prophecyclub.com has the best offer we've ever offered, where you get all 5 of my books, total of 40 books, at prophecyclub.com for $800. Valued at $800, for $100. Also, if you are a prophecy student and you're in the DFW area, or especially if you live in the DFW area, let me invite you to come by our church and visit. I think you'll like it, especially if you're a prophecy student and you see the address there. If God has blessed you and you can help Prophecy Club, now would be a really, really good time, because it's summertime and it's always the toughest time of the year. Our donations pretty much stop during this year for the time of the year. So if you can help us, And that would be a really good time. We'd really appreciate it.